Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What's going on, Internet? Eric Bandholz here, founder of Beard Brand, and you are on another e-commerce conversation. This is, I believe it's part 3. No, let me take that back. Part 4 of our series on how to build an e-commerce business. Really lucky. Today I've got an incredible guest, Neville Medora.
You're too kind. Hello.
Why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about you?
Well, I'm not quite as tall as Eric. I have a beard. I'm half Indian and half Persian by nature, and so I will grow a beard out in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I want this to be a Brzezinski size thing, I can have it in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Amazing follicle growth going on.
Yeah. But it happens everywhere around my body also, so that's a thing.
Yeah. Well,
TMI?
No, I mean,
yeah.
This is a podcast. They can't
Good
see
to
it,
know.
so they just have to imagine how hairy you are.
Even better.
I get to see it.
Even better. Well, that's some good copywriting right there, right? We implanted a memory or an image into someone's brain over a medium as audio.
Yeah.
So that was good copywriting right there.
Well, there you
right?
go. Yeah. So you are like the king of copywriting, right?
It's like Howard Stern, self-proclaimed, but
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good. I think my results speak for itself. So, So I started out in high school with a rave company called houseofrave.com. I sold it in 2011. I don't know if it still exists. And I drop shipped rave products. It was just that simple. Light up, glow stuff to party planners, MTV, all those types of places. And I noticed a long time ago that all the manufacturers had the same descriptions and the same images. And I thought, well, if I put better images and better descriptions, wouldn't people buy from me? Keep in mind, this is the year 2001, internet's still developing. So sure enough, it did. And then years and years into the business, I was kind of getting to a point where Amazon was starting to take off, and it was a little bit harder to compete. And so someone told me to send out emails to my email list. And I had an email list of 7,500 past customers, meaning these people had sent me money and opted into the email list. And I tried sending out a newsletter for about a year. And I put proudly sponsored by House of Rave and all the big buttons and the templates and an About Us section in there. All the stuff I thought was a good newsletter. And it just failed. Like I would spend $80 a month to send that stuff out, yet I would make maybe $40 in profit. So I was like, well, I guess email's nothing, right? So then a friend of mine, now he's kind of a thing, Ryan Levesque. He was my buddy way back in the day. I met him in China, of all places, when he lived there. And he was like, hey, I just got into this thing called copywriting. I read about this guy named Gary Halbert. He's this old school copywriter. And I was like, whatever. And he was just like, dude, I'm telling you. And he just like talked my ear off to read the Gary Halbert letters, specifically the Boron letters, chapters 1 through 25. They're free online. Look it up. You could find them. And he pressed me to print them out. All of them. Like buy an extra ink cartridge, print them out. So I did. First night I'm reading. It's pretty funny. Like the guy's he's a character, right? He's a real character, a little bit crude. And so the first 3 chapters were about health and whatnot. Next 3 chapters, and he's writing these from Boron State Federal Penitentiary to his son. That's what the Boron letters are. And he's writing how he became like a big time millionaire and then arrested for mail fraud by getting too many complaints for a product he sold. And he's telling his son how to get attention, how to keep attention, how to sell something, not just get someone to read something, how to tell people to take an action at the end of everything you write. And I stayed up till 6 a.m, no joke, every single night reading the Boron letters. And I was pissed and happy at the same time. Pissed that I had missed out on all the things I've ever sold doing the wrong way. I was like, I could have been a millionaire by now. Like, I missed out. And I was happy that I was just learning this. And so from there, I got obsessed with this copywriting thing, and I sent out my very first email on House of Rave to 7,500 past customers. Previously, I made $40 per thing. this email I sent out, I made somewhere in the range of $4,000 to $7,000.
My goodness.
Yes. So that was a lot of money. And keep in mind, I was still pretty young. And I was like, this is a lot.
You're like, let's go rave, baby.
Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. I had run the same promotion. It was these little finger lights, right? That go on your fingers. But what I always did, I just put a lot of pictures and a big old buy button. And it says like they take these types of batteries, basic product description stuff, right? So a lot of e-commerce people will be familiar. You just list it out and people buy. Well, not quite. So what I did, I was like, I used to pick up the phone and I realized that most people who bought these little finger lights are not 16-year-old ravers. For example, a plumbing company used to buy 50 of them from me per year. And I was like, I called them one day. I was like, why do you buy these? You're a plumbing company. Is it for the holiday party? They're like, no. If you think about it, a plumber can't see under the sink. And so he has a headlamp, but his head can't always go under the sink, but his fingers can. And I was like, that's genius. Moms used to tell me that they'd give them to their kids to ward off monsters under their bed. That was more than one person that told me that. The show Battlestar Galactica bought a bunch when they were filming in Toronto or someplace, and they used them for their guns. All these different reasons, Halloween costumes, etc. And so I listed out all these different ways that people could actually use the finger lights besides just like raving, right? Well, it turns out a lot of people resonated with that email, and a lot of people bought from that email. So many I had to cancel most of the orders after that. They're just sold out.
So did you pitch like every single feature for the product, or did you break that email or break those ideas up into multiple emails?
No. It was all one email. It was roughly about 2 pages. There's some way we can link it or something. There's some way you can find this actual email I wrote. But here's the thing that my friend helped me with, Ryan. And he was just like, you got to make sure that there's a call to action at the end. And I was never used to doing that. I was always used to just writing the thing and just like, letting people make up their own mind. I never thought about telling them at the end. Imagine you have a beard brand store and someone says, I want beard oil. And you're like, well, here it is. And you point them and they just walk away. You have maybe lost that sale. Whereas if the sales rep were to say, well, would you like me to package up 2 of them today? They're 50% off if you buy 2. He might go, okay, there you go. Sale, money, economy. It happens. It works. And so at the end of it, I was like, we're doing this crazy thing. And I kind of made this up. I said we had too many in stock and I had to literally keep them at my house. And I wanted them out of my garage. So I'm going to sell them at a special price and that it's going to be first come, first serve. And that normally we sell 50 of these a day. And, these are going to go real quick. And sure enough, bam, sold out. I mean, right away. And it was that difference of telling people this narrative, this story. And on this one, I lied a bit. But it was my first time doing it, and it really worked. And that's when I was like, whoa, copywriting might be a thing. The only thing different on this was the text.
Right.
I didn't even include
list, same frequency.
Same people, same everything,
same
just
product.
The text. And that was a very powerful realization when the money hit my pocket. And I was like, oh. And almost overnight, House of Rave became more of an email marketing based company rather than I hope someone just buys from the website when they find us randomly company.
Yeah. So like all your sales that you were generating were coming from...
Not all, but a lot. It started to be most. Yeah, 50% or more started to come from the email list.
So you got into the House of Rave. You're figuring out how to do like sales copy, email writing, converting people. What shifted there? You sold the business or...
Yeah, I sold it in 2011.
And then what was the purpose behind that, or what?
Well, so House of Rave was a dropship company, which in 2001, dropshipping was this real novel concept. It's like I sell you something, but then I send it from another place. That was a real big thing. 2011, technology had caught up, right? Major brands, they can now break... The inventory tracking systems are in computers now, whereas before they were by hand. So you can only have maybe 100 SKUs before, right? Meaning you're handling only big pallets. You can't break down every single little thing, but with a computer, you can have 1 trillion SKUs. Who cares? Doesn't matter. So that competition started leveling up. And then also AppSumo started taking off around that time. And so I sold House of Rave to a competitor site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then hopped on board with AppSumo or...
Yeah, so Noah Kagan, who built, is the founder of AppSumo, he also one of my very close friends to this day. Yours too. He was building AppSumo off my couch. He would come over to my place, and he was kind of like a bum.
Right.
Noah's a real simple man sometimes.
Yeah, Noah's famous for being like employee number 4 at Facebook, right?
Yeah, at number 30.
30. Okay.
Yeah, number 30. And then getting fired.
Right. By Zuckerberg.
By
right?
Zuckerberg. Yeah. And so he's hanging out in Austin. They're building another company, and he's doing AppSumo as a side project. And keep in mind, it was real crappy at the time. And however, Noah is a genius at getting emails. So it was like, how many emails do you have? He's like 50,000. And you're just like, what? So anyways, Noah's a smart guy. He's really good at that. And, but he hated sending out the actual email to 50,000 people. He found it pressure filled, right? Because you're talking to 50,000 people. What if you screw up? What if you mistype something? What if they don't like it? What if they complain? And so I was used to writing emails all the time at this point. And I was just going under this whole copywriting kick, and I was like, Noah, this is like literally the exact thing you should do. Like, write one of these well-written emails and to your list and send it to 50,000 people and hopefully get them to buy. And so that's what we did. I convinced him to let me write one, and it was Kernest. It was a font matching service for like $100 or something like that, which only hardcore designers would be into. So the first thing I did, I was like, if the word, I don't know how crude we can be on here, but this first email was very crude. I was like, if the word Verdana gives you a boner, then keep reading. And then I referenced all these Steve Jobs things. He was alive at the time, and how he was like a big font nerd and stuff like that. And I told this illustrious, hilarious story. Noah read it on a podcast one time and just couldn't stop laughing.
Right.
It was just like 5-minute fit of Noah laughing at it. And we sent that out, and it was the first AppSumo $10,000 profit day ever. We were like, okay, clearly it's a fluke, right? But we do it again, and it happened again and again. And then, I came on board, and exactly.
So you built up the email list and kind of headed up the copywriting.
I would say
division.
Noah built up the email list in the marketing sense. I was the one talking to the email list on a regular basis. Yes. So I defined the voice. We created like the term like sumo-ling, all that kind of stuff, all the fun stuff. I had this shtick at the end. Instead of being like, and now you can buy this product for 50% off, it's just I always would make up stories. So I'd be like, we captured the founder of Beard Brand, and he's in my trunk right now, and I'm not going to let him out until he gives me 50% off on Beard Brand oil. Right. So we'd always tell these like over-the-top dumb stories, but it just made it interesting rather than saying like, 50% off every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So you did that for a while, and then you spun off your own course, right?
Yeah, people were shocked that they would read the AppSumo emails on a daily basis every single day, and we were selling them something. The whole point of the email was to sell them something, and everyone knew that. And they were like, why do I read your emails all the time? And why do I keep buying stuff? Like, stop it. Don't make me do this. And I think that's a fantastic compliment to a copywriter, that people would like be scared to open the emails because it would be so good, right? And also, we're selling primarily software and stuff like that, so we weren't just like lying about the products. We're actually getting good products in the first place. And so started sending out all that stuff, and then people were asking me left and right, how do you write like that? How do you write like that? Can you write like that for my company? And so I created a course under the AppSumo name, equity in the company. So it's like I did everything through AppSumo, called Copywriting Course. And that was just a smash hit because people liked the AppSumo emails. And then they bought this course on how to show them how to do it. And then that eventually branched off into its own site. I needed a place to send the promotional material. So I wrote copywritingcourse.com with K's. It's misspelled.
Yeah.
Someone had a copywriting course with C's. So I was like, whatever, I'll make it with K's.
So the king of copywriting course. This is probably not a good
that has an acronym. Me as a brown skinned dude can say, but I don't know. Is that a thing? We have had a lot of fun conversations about that before.
I was actually, this is probably a weird segue, but I was watching that the letter K, because it's not very common to start as a first letter with words, it's a very eye-catching thing to do, to actually change the C's to K's.
Well, also, I had this theory on copywriting that all these old school copywriters, and I'm not trying to call anyone out or say anyone sucks, it's just that the prevailing theory in a lot of groups was that like text is the most powerful thing in the world. Well, I mean, text is a learned thing for humans. Images and videos, like how you see with your own two eyes, is actually more intuitive than any text will ever be. And so copywriting was always like, print is the ultimate thing because these guys grew up in the 1900s. That's all they can write with. So text was the most popular thing. Images and videos weren't an option to distribute. And so I wrote copywriting with a K because I was like, look, copywriting is any way I can transfer information from my brain into your brain or my brain into a million brains. I don't care if it's text. I don't care if it's video. I don't care if it's images. I don't care if it's a virtual reality experience. Whatever way I can do that, I will change and I will adapt with the technology at the time. And so that was my thing for saying copywriting with Ks. It's like, this is anything we can get to get information into your brain.
Yeah.
Not just text.
Now, we got a lot of listeners in the e-commerce space. Like we talked a lot about email, and that's a crucial part of e-commerce. But what would be the strategy for having creative copy on like your actual landing page or on your product page or even on like social media and the various channels that?
Well, so I did a lot of tests on this. We created several copywriting course products and we did all these experiments. And one thing that I was always disappointed that I just couldn't crack was shirts. So for example, a shirt, and I'm not talking about just shirts. This is a copywriting lesson right here. A shirt is like, everyone knows what a shirt is. It goes around your arm, blah, 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 like looks the same, it's cotton, whatever, right? And it's got a logo. So we tried to sell this Stewie from Family Guy shirt with good copy. And you know what? Once you see the shirt, you understand the product. There's nothing really I can do to make you change your mind. You've already made it up in your head in a split second. Now, let's say it's a type of beard oil, I'll just use it for the easy example, is that if it's made in a different way, if it's got a different polymer inside of it that coats your beard better than the other brands, see, that's a more rich concept you don't get with text necessarily. You can't physically see that process happening at the molecular level, so text is the way to explain that. And so if you're just selling normal stuff, kind of like t-shirts and stuff, yes, you can have funny copy, but people's minds are made up just by the shirt itself. So for that, I'd say it's a bit harder. But with other types of products, yes, you can absolutely list for example, other ways people use your products. So you told me that you can use a lot of the beard oil in other parts of your body other than just your beard.
Right. You're a hairy guy. I mean, you could just slather up your whole
you
body.
went to an event and you brought a bunch of products and all these people wanted it, but some of them were not beardfully blessed, as say you and I are. And you were just like, oh, but put it in your hair. It's great. And they were like, oh, awesome. So now you just got this whole other group of people who bought your products. With House of Rave, I didn't realize wedding planners, party planners were a huge part of my business. And when I did, I started focusing the products on that more than just ravers, right? And so if you show the different uses for your products, right there, you're opening up these new avenues of people that can buy.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you do that without like just completely destroying your brand and kind of like your identity?
Well, let's take a real example. Give me an example of something.
Well, I mean, what do we have here? Cameras, right?
Cameras.
Right.
Okay.
So you got like, let's say you got Canon, their professional line or whatever. And you can,
well,
I don't know if that's
how about that?
example.
Yeah, I'll tell you why that's a bad example right now. Because the consumer is so smart nowadays. You type in Canon Mark D5 and find on Google Shopping, Amazon, eBay, all these different places that you go on Facebook Marketplace and find the cheapest priced one, and then find all these different YouTube videos about it. Right. So you're really just buying from the cheapest trusted place. So that's a bad example. I will say that wooden bowl over there. Okay. That's an interesting little wooden bowl. And what I'm looking at is something on a table. It's just a bowl, but it's got a weird kind of angular feature to it.
The square bowl.
Is there square? Yeah. Is there some sort of significance behind that? Was it made by hand by a certain artist? Is there a reason? Did the ancient Peruvians used to use square-shaped bowls like that for a reason? See, I'm telling a story behind it, why that would be a great addition to something. And that's not a very useful product right there, but I would say the uses, a story about it, all that kind of stuff to make it a more collector's item rather than just like a bowl.
Yeah, I found that we've actually had a lot of success with that, and we talked about it before we started the podcast. Like at Beard Brand, we put a lot of emphasis on the name of the product. For instance, we have like Temple Smoke, which was inspired by the incense that was used in religious ceremonies in South America and Southeast Asia. Those are the fragrances that we're using in the product. And then hopefully we can create that imagery of someone lighting incense. And
an industry that I have found very interesting that has popped up in the last 5 years is the mattress industry. It's like door delivery mattress thing. I think Casper kind of started it. And then there's a ton of competitors. These are very expensive items that are shipped instead of, at a dealer, basically like a Serta dealer. and they've shipped them. And it's funny to watch. Like, I think there are some really great copywriters in that industry. And what they're doing is kind of, if you know the trick, you know it's a trick. But what they're doing is they're basically describing memory foam, which has like been around for a long time. And what they're doing is they're basically like, here's why a Casper mattress is so great. Like, you could push it and it goes back up. It's got this polymer, and you're just like, yeah, that's all memory foam. There's this famous example of Schlitz beer. I believe it was Schlitz, where in the copywriting world, this is a famous example where Schlitz it was just a beer. Like, it was just a big manufactured beer. It tastes all the same. So the copywriter, he said that every Schlitz bottle is steamed 7 times for purity. Well, it turns out that's the normal amount of time you steam a bottle for every place that sells bottles. But because they said 7 times, people are like, oh, it must be clean as hell. But it's just like, well, yeah, it's steamed 7 times. It's a normal thing. And so I think the mattress industry is doing a good job of describing why their mattress is so comfortable, even though they're just describing regular ass memory foam.
Right.
And that seems like a trick, but it is very important, because if you think you're sleeping on a comfortable mattress, my friend, you are sleeping on a comfortable mattress. The placebo effect is very strong in that case. Yeah. Content is getting easier to distribute now, right? You can upload. Do you remember 20 years ago, uploading a video was, how would you even do that? It was quite difficult.
1998.
Yeah, it was almost impossible.
Yeah, AOL was just chat rooms.
Yeah, and you're talking about low bandwidth. Now it's like you're on the toilet and you can watch a YouTube video in high definition on your awesome Retina display phone with surround sound or AirPods. So content is becoming more and more deliverable, and it's one of those things of a lot of people when they're making content marketing for their site, not just descriptions, but they'll be like, okay, I got to just knock this out, and they'll make it in like an hour. I will take a long time, sometimes between like 6 and 24 hours working on a post, because I want to make it the best post on the planet. And I'm not saying that as like just like a joke. If Google ranks you number 1 for something, its job is to find the best resource on the planet to point someone after a query, right? And so if you rank number 1, theoretically, your thing is the best thing in the world for what that person was searching for. So why not spend more time on this to make the best absolute piece of content? And the way I like to do it, people are like, okay, well, how do I write good content? What is good content? First of all, I think the results of your content is what good content is. Like, I have stood up after articles in my chair and clapped because I read something that was just so good.
Yeah.
I have shared something because it was so good. I have bought something because it was so good. And one of the things I like to do is, instead of this subjective thing of, is my content good? I like to break it down kind of scientifically like this. Like, everything in your content is like a module. You ever use like Lead Pages or something like that, one of those website builders, and it'll say testimonials, and you can just boop, drag it on your page, and it puts like some, dummy text and a round circle with someone's head for the testimonial. And then you can drag in a form. Now, those are little modules you can add into your page. And so I have a whole list of modules. They have a blog post about it. We can link of all the different modules you can put into content. So if you say, I don't know if this content's good, I'm like, how about just add some more modules and you'll make it good. For example, one of my favorite is making up a ranking. So let's say, like Beard Brand's just an easy example. Let's say you have a beard rating or something like that, or Eric's beard rating. So every time you try one of your products, you give it a rating of your own, and not always 5s, because sometimes things are different. There's a guy named Doug DeMuro on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, the Doug score.
Yeah, the Doug score, right? How often, like, you love the Doug score. You already know it. There's a free doc online that he gives away with the Doug score. He just made that shit up.
Yeah.
It's not a real thing.
It's a dude named Doug.
It's just a dude named Doug that likes cars, and in his personal opinion, there's a Doug score. And I love making up scores for things. Noah and AppSumo have like tacos. Noah loves tacos. That's his deal. So all his things are rated by tacos.
Right.
All the AppSumo deals are rated by tacos. Rating systems are very interesting because they make a unique thing to your site that no one else can steal.
Yeah.
So that's an example of a module that you can do. So I love making really, really good content. And content isn't just like what you make it once. You can go back to it and update it over time. So my whole site has only about 140 posts. it's one of the top copywriting blogs on the web. Whereas the next one up has thousands and thousands of posts, several that come out a day. I'm the opposite.
We used to do that. We've got like 1,000 articles on our blog that we're condensing down to these super articles, 7,500 to 10,000 words, where, like you said, trying to make the best content on a subject matter that you can find anywhere.
And it doesn't even have to be very long. It doesn't always have to be very long. Just because something's, I have some posts that are a total of, a few hundred words, 200 words that rank number one for all sorts of stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be good. It just has to answer their query quickly and efficiently and the best.
Interesting. Now let's talk about like follow Neville, right? Get his course, learn how to do this. But let's say you're an established business. You've got a team of, 5, 10, 20 people. You don't have the resources to actually do the content yourself. How do you find people like you that can execute and know how to sell? Like, what are those questions you need to ask?
The classic question. I'll give you the answer. Here's the thing. Usually a company that does not have a founder that is really good at content tends to not have the best content, right? That is just what I've noticed in life. Like HubSpot had Dharmesh and he's amazing. The Hustle has Sam Parr. He's an amazing writer. People like that tend to have the best content. Even Noah, while he didn't like writing those emails, he was writing content in a very popular blog for years. So if you are the founder of the company, I would encourage you to probably write a little bit of content yourself. Now, a lot of people aren't going to do that. You're busy. You got a company to run. So how do you hire a writer? My friend Chandler Bolt, he has selfpublishingschool.com. He was looking for a writer, and I was just like, okay, you talk about books. Let's find writers that are contributors to, like, say, Forbes, Business Insider, or any other thing, or writing site, who write about books predominantly. So I started typing in how to write a book, opening up the top 10 on Google results. How to get your book self-published on Amazon, opening up those top 10. And what we found was there was this one site, I have no idea what it was called, but it was kind of just like a content mill site where they're paying contributors to write articles. And there was this one author, this woman, who was writing all these articles about books. And I know that because she's a contributing writer, this means that she probably gets paid, I don't know, $50 maybe for these articles, probably less, meaning they're not balling out of control writing these random articles for a content mill site. And I was like, well, her stuff's pretty good. Why don't we contact her? And because he wanted to hire someone for a full-time position, it came with a full-time salary and a healthy one at that. And so I was like, contact her. That's the person you go for. Tell her that you write about books. I write about books. You want to get your name out there? I have a big platform and I'll give you money. That's a great offer. That is right up her alley. And so I say always go for people who already write about the things that you want and steal them away from these content contributor sites because they don't make a lot of money on contributor sites. There's no site that's just paying thousands of dollars for articles.
Yeah. And then you just work with them remotely.
Yep. Usually writers love being alone or remote. They don't want a lot of oversight all the time. Yeah. And if they already write about the subject, it means they probably like that subject. So all these people come to me all the time and, there's this whole, they want to be copywriters. And I'm like, do you want to be a copywriter because you like writing or because you think you can make money on a laptop on a beach, right? And they're usually like, well, I think it'd just be easy and I could do it. I'm like, then you're not going to succeed, right? So you have to find people who already write. If you hire a writer and they don't have a bunch of articles they've already written, probably a mistake already.
Yeah. If they haven't traditionally done sales writing, would you shy away from them too?
No, I love those people. The reason is people who are really good at sales writing generally own their own business or they're really expensive and it's hard to find them. It's hard to hire them away from a super high-end corporate job where they're getting a lot of money. So the people that are just good at writing where they've been maintaining a blog for years, but it's a personal blog, a travel blog, something like that, but they've been writing, those people, you can train them in sales writing. So you can improve them already to become good sales writers. And that's what copywriting course literally was. Companies were like, I have a writer, but she doesn't know how to sell. I'm like, send her my way. Watch these videos. Within a few videos, they're like, oh, that's not that hard.
Right.
It's changing up the ending. It's interspersing a couple points throughout. It's using the AIDA formula, AIDA, those kinds of things. and then they become a good sales writer.
AIDA, what is it?
AIDA means attention, interest, desire, action. It's on the Glengarry Ross movie also has it. Alec Baldwin gets that speech. And attention means get people's attention with some sort of grabbing thing. So it's usually the title, right? So if someone's searching for patchy beards, how I regrew my patchy beard with 3 different supplements. That's attention grabbing for that person at that time. Interest. Tell them interesting points, interesting facts about this. Did you know that the average male over 30 has a 40% chance of developing an alopecia spot on his beard in his lifetime? And then another point of interest would be there are ways to get rid of this within 6 months. I don't know if this is true. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And so those are interesting facts that you would intersperse in that article. Desire would be you're trying to make their brain think they want this. And so desire is you can have a full beard within 6 months for under $100 in supplements. This doesn't cost a lot of money. There's no surgeries involved. And you have a fuller, better beard, which inspires more confidence. You can give a story about how you were unconfident and ashamed of your little spot, but then you got it back. And then action, what do you think that is? Well, what are those 3 supplements we're talking about?
Right.
Let's get them to buy those. And you don't have to hardcore push because the desire part made them say, yeah, I want that. I want that. Tell me what it is. So then you have, here's the pack that I personally used. I bought these once and I've never had to use them again in my life because the patch is gone. Right. And that's the whole thing right there. That's just a skeleton outline of an article. It doesn't have to be that long, but that's it right there.
So landing page, email, social media, just AIDA all the way.
Yeah, and the cool thing about content is that you can always take a giant piece of content, like one of your big how-to articles, and you could break it up into product descriptions. You could break it up into social media, Pinterest, whatever new platform, fancy doodad platform comes along. You can make it into posts. Whereas a lot of people will just make an Instagram post here or there, but that doesn't turn into anything big. Mm-hmm. So I'm a huge fan of making these big, meaty pieces of content, and you can use them. You could break them up into emails, everything. Yeah. It's fantastic. You could recycle this content forever, and it's awesome.
Well, I bet we could probably talk about copy like all day. Unfortunately, we're kind of up at our time. I want you to tell everyone what they should do. What's the action for our listeners and you?
I always say this is a contentious one because some people hate Gary Halbert, but I really liked him. I thought he was just a crude, like interesting character of kind of like a once removed generation. Like, it's not like 1900s where it's a little hard to understand. This is like, I think he died in 2008 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, or 1980. And so I would say read the Gary Halbert letters, and it's called The Boron Letters, chapters 1 through 25, and I would print them out. And here's just my observation. The people who don't do it are like, whatever, they're just not that interested. The people who do it end up becoming great copywriters, like literally 100% of the time, that because they're just so interested, they took the work to do it. The other thing would be copywritingcourse.com, misspelled with K's. I put out a lot of free content, and it's some of the best according to Google. And so I'm assuming that it's pretty good. And we've created a lot of copywriters. We created a lot of content teams. We give away so much stuff, examples, just straight up like linking to Google Docs that you can just copy, stuff like that. Yeah. And then we sell a premium course that you can buy and learn to actually become a great copywriter for your own business.
And then what about social media? Twitter, Instagram, email, anything like that?
Yeah, I don't use Instagram that much, but I do have it. It's Neville_Medora. Twitter is @NevMed. So Neville Medora, NevMed. And then I'm on Facebook /copywriting course, and then copywritingcourse.com. And we send out an email that goes out all the time. That's, I think, pretty damn good. And we got a bunch of people on that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. We, in a previous episode, Carson, a web developer, said, don't really spend your time and money and effort like on the theme, the design of the website. Spend it on the photography and the copy. Because that's really what's going to sell your product.
The theme is interchangeable over time,
right?
Also, think about it. When you look on your mobile phone, when you're reading something, do you even see the theme?
Right.
And most people view it on their mobile phone. So it's like the content is just stripped down to bare content. Yeah. Good design helps in some cases, but in terms of like getting people interested, it doesn't matter. I'll just give another Gary Halbert example to encourage people to read it. But he always gave this example. I'm totally stealing this from him. And he said, if your wife was about to have triplets and you just ran out of the hospital for a second to grab something to eat, and this guy from a different country, he doesn't speak English very well, but he's got like the medical mask on. You can tell he works at the hospital. And he comes up, he's like, sir, a wife, baby. And you're like, what about it? He could barely speak English, but that content is so interesting to you, you will figure out what he is trying to say, right? Even though he's not very eloquent about it. And so it's more the content and context of that situation that's interesting, more so than his delivery.
Right.
In fact, that didn't matter at all.
Right. Absolutely. Great tips. And I'm excited to start implementing these with our business and taking it up a notch. As always, this has been another e-commerce conversation. I'm your host, Eric Banholz. Cheers.
Cheers.
And keep on growing.